My third plant resolution for 2021 is to no longer import plants. So I just imported plants from Indonesia. Hi everyone, it's Marianne. Welcome to my Wasteless Life. In this video, I'll be unboxing some rare Scindapsus plants that I imported from Indonesia. Thank you so much for joining me today, and if you're new, this is my Wasteless Life, where I take you along my plant and sustainable lifestyle journey and share with you some of my tips and tricks along the way. And as you can probably tell from the title of this video, you know where this is heading, but please watch all the way through and find out the resolution to this entire saga, because there's a twist in the end. But before I share with you the unboxing and the entire experience of importing plants from Indonesia, let me first thank the sponsor of this video, Spider Farmer. Spider Farmer sent me their grow light, the SF600, to test and review, and I've been using it for about a month now. In my first video with them, I showed how I set it up, which is right behind here, and in my second video, I shared the updates of the growth of my plants, which has doubled just within 2 weeks. And later on in this video, I'll be sharing with you my final updates, as well as announce the winner for the SF600 grow light, so make sure you watch until the very end. If you've been watching me for a while, you know last Vlogmas I said that one of my New Year's resolution is to no longer import plants. I imported plants from last year and imported some plants from Thailand, and while it was a relatively okay experience, I decided to no longer import plants. Obviously, I have since broken that New Year's resolution, but honestly, I'm quite surprised that I lasted this long. And this wasn't really an impulse buy. I have thought about it for months, probably since the beginning of the year. And at first, my goal was really to find US sellers for this Scindapsus plants, but because they're still not widely available in the US, it's very hard to find A, a reputable seller, and B, a seller that will sell it at a pretty reasonable price. And the US sellers I found were selling single leaf cutting for like hundreds of dollars, which is totally not worth it as much as I want these plants. Probably my last or best resort was to import them. I don't buy plants on eBay. I tried searching for them at Facebook Marketplace, but like I said, they were often overpriced for a small leaf cutting that's not even rooted. And so my best recourse was to go to Etsy. But whenever I search them on Etsy, the sellers are always from Indonesia. And so when I finally decided to actually import the plants, I still waited for a while to find a seller that has all three plants that I wanted. And in the past month, I finally found a seller who has all three plants at a good price, and they had relatively good reviews, at least at the time when I bought the plants. So I ordered the plants May 11th, it got shipped May 26th, it arrived May 31st, and I spent about $130 including shipping. The phytosanitary certificate was provided for free by the seller. So if I divide the cost, it's about $43 per plant or 4 installments via Klarna. So now that Etsy allow payments via Klarna, it didn't feel like a big purchase up front, which is also one of the reasons I decided to import the plants and buy it anyways. So yeah, let me show you the unboxing and see what I actually got for $130. So let's go ahead and unbox this. I'm kind of surprised with how small the box is, so we'll just see how big the plants, but I hope I still got some really good plants. I could smell it a little bit, that's not a good sign. And here's the phytosanitary certificate from Indonesia. Honestly, the first time I imported, I didn't even see the phytosanitary certificate, but this one actually came with it, which is great. They really duct taped it. See it a little bit now? So I can see it here already. That's how it looks like. So here is the box. It's very messed up. Okay. So I got 3 plants supposedly. I'm like only seeing 2 right now. And I don't think I even got the right one. But yeah, so okay. I don't think they came in the best condition, especially for the one that I really want. And then the other one, I don't even think it's the right plant. Okay, I'm kind of mad right now. So the first one is the Scindapsus lucens, and I think this one came in a fairly good condition. It was in fact not in a good condition, and it's also not a Scindapsus lucens. It was likely a juvenile jade satin. So this is the other one, and I don't understand why it was done like this. But you can see this one pretty much dead. And this is the other one. It's supposed to be Scindapsus silver lady. It looks like a Scindapsus pictus exotica. Like, look at that. I think it is just a Scindapsus pictus exotica. I am kind of upset about that, because the reason I've been holding off not buying from sellers is I've been waiting for one that sells all three. And usually it's the Scindapsus silver lady that they didn't have. But this one, I think, just sent me the Scindapsus pictus exotica. That is the perils of importing plants. And that's why I had the New Year's resolution of not buying imported plants anymore, because things like this happen. And I really should have listened to old me, but I didn't. It doesn't look like a silver lady at all. I am so mad. I mean, this one is supposed to be the Scindapsus silver hero. I can't even really tell because of how beat up it is. I am taking pictures of it so I could send it to the seller. But yeah. And that's me unboxing dead plants cuttings, essentially yellow leaves. And I couldn't even blame the shipping of it, because DHL shipped it within 5 days during Memorial Day weekend. So it wasn't the shipping. I think I just got plants from them that were already in poor condition to begin with. Plus, the number of leaves or size of plant that they posted in the listing didn't correspond to the plants that I got. And of course, I didn't even get the correct plants. So after I filmed that unboxing, I messaged the seller right away, but the seller didn't respond to me at all. And according to Etsy policy, if the seller don't respond within a certain number of days, I could open a case with Etsy, which is what I did. And after I opened a case, Etsy emailed me and said if the seller still doesn't respond within a certain number of days, I could escalate the case with them. And that's what happened. After a certain number of days, Etsy emailed me again and said, since the seller hasn't responded, would you like to escalate or close the case? And I said escalate. And the very next day, since the seller still hasn't responded to Etsy or me, Etsy has fully refunded my entire order. But because I was making payments through Klarna, Klarna also sent me an email saying they're going to stop future payments, and whatever I already paid, Etsy will refund me within 2 to 5 business days. So I'm very relieved and happy that Etsy is fully refunding my order, and I wasn't going to get charged for future payments on Klarna, because I was really dreading and was upset about that. I was about to pay my next installment when I received the email from Klarna and Etsy that I didn't have to pay any further for the order, and they were just going to refund me what I already paid. But I just want to say that if this has happened to you, I'm not going to guarantee that Etsy would fully refund your order as well, but I'm just sharing you what happened with mine. It's also partly the reason I decided to import plants, because I was buying it through Etsy and I was making payments via Klarna, where I know both has buyer protection programs, as opposed to what I did in the past. I bought it directly through a website in Thailand, and they have no buyer protection program. Basically, what you get is what you get. If you get dead plants, they're not going to issue you any refund. They might sometimes, but there's no guarantee. If I have received those plants in relatively good condition, my original plan for this video is to share with you how I rehab imported plants. But since they came in such terrible condition, I was essentially left with single leaf cuttings, or Wetsticks really. It was more of a rescue mission instead of a rehab. But I think the steps that I took is the same steps that I would take if I was rehabbing imported plants. So let's see what I did with the plants right after. So first thing I'm going to do is to wash off the plants. I know they've been through customs and it has a phytosanitary certificate. But just to be safe and sure, I am going to wash them off. And you know, I don't want to be responsible for bringing in any pests or any diseases or viruses carried by the plants. We just went through a pandemic. I got some Castile soap and I'm going to wash the plants. Just make sure I got everything, especially on the root side. Also remove any of the rotting roots, and they are the ones that easily comes off from the plant. I'm just going to grab a paper towel and dry them off, and I'm gonna go get a pair of scissors and make decisions on some of these, because some of them cannot be saved. Okay, so here are the cuttings all washed and cleaned. I placed them on a heat mat. I did line it with paper towels so that it could absorb any excess moisture. And I'm gonna let the cuttings callus for about a couple of hours. So just give them time to dry up and callus over. For larger plants, I would do it overnight. But since these are smaller plant cuttings, I'm just gonna give it a couple of hours and that should be enough. So it's been a couple of hours and it looks like everything has dried up and calloused over. So let's go ahead with the next step. So when it comes to rehabbing plants, this is not the time to be trying out new propagation methods, new propagation mediums. You stick to what you know. I did this when I first imported plants with my Thai constellation Monstera. I tried propagating it in leca right away when at that time I didn't really know much about propagating in leca. And as a result, I nearly killed my Thai constellation Monstera. So I should just have stuck to what I know, which was propagating a sphagnum moss instead of trying out new method on the plants that I'm rehabbing. This time, this is the same case. I have sphagnum moss here. I did mix it up a little bit with vermiculite, and I do have some leca down here. And I'm using the leca to provide a water reservoir because with my experience with sphagnum moss, it dries out too quickly, especially if it's under the grow light and on a heat mat. So, and at the same time, it can provide humidity for the cuttings. And with this one, I'm going to use it for basically the Wetsticks because if I tried, let's say, putting it in water, I won't be able to balance it real well. So I'm gonna do it with the Wetsticks. So this one is practically just a node, but I'm gonna stick it here anyway and see what happens. So with this one, because it does have some root growth, I'm gonna try to propagate this one in water along with the Scindapsus lucens. And this one, because it has two new growth points over here and over here, I'm going to put it in sphagnum moss at first, see how well it does. So if it dries up too quickly and it doesn't propagate the way I want to, I would put it in water as well. Just to finish off with this one, I am going to put some water in the water reservoir. So this is just regular water, and I'm gonna add a little bit of the water that has the root and growth solution in it. So this one is pretty much done. We're gonna put it aside from now. For the rest of the cuttings, I'll just be propagating it in water. I did put it in water with a little bit of Super Thrive in it instead of the root and grow. Having the root and grow solution in the water is too much for the POTHOS plants, so I'm just doing it with the Super Thrive right now. And with most of my POTHOS plants actually do well with just propagating in water without anything in it. And so I have this Scindapsus pictus exotica, which is definitely not a silver lady. I'm still so mad about that. And this is the Scindapsus silver hero, which I might eventually put in the sphagnum moss, because once this leaf goes out, the node basically won't have any anchor to be in the water anymore. But I'm going to put it in the water for now to hopefully have it grow some more roots before I transfer it to sphagnum moss. And this is Scindapsus lucens, and I'm gonna place it in water as well, and hopefully they will all survive. And here they are underneath my Spider Farmer SF600 grow light and on top of the heat mat. And as you can see, the water reservoir, only the leca part is submerged, and the sphagnum moss will get water from it through capillary action, and hopefully that would keep the sphagnum moss moist but not overly saturated. And for the rest of the plant cuttings, I am propagating it in water with just a little bit of Super Thrive. I would probably be able to provide an update on this at least one time before I put the video up. And if that's the case, let's transition to the updates. Before I share with you my updates on my plant imports from Indonesia, I first would like to talk to you about Spider Farmer's SF600 grow light. And if you've seen my two previous videos on it, then you already know what it's all about. But for those watching me for the first time, the Spider Farmer SF600 grow light uses Osram diodes with about 384 LED lights. So it's a very low consumption grow light that only uses about 72 watts. With its sunlight full spectrum light and 120-degree beam angle, it covers a lot of surface area, and you could propagate a lot of plants underneath the grow light. And I have been using it for about a month now, and I'm really excited to share with you my final updates on the plants that I have growing underneath the Spider Farmer SF600 grow light. So let's go ahead and check it out. Like my first update video, I'll be showing side by side so you could really see how much the plants have grown underneath a Spider Farmer SF600 grow light. And as you know from that first video, I have separated the basils and peppers because they have grown so much, and you could see from the comparison how they've also grown since. That is the pepper at the back, and here's the basil at the front. They have grown such big leaves and gotten so much taller, and these are the Thai basils that I've also been propagating in water and potted up, and has also pushed out new growth since. And you can see here with a spider plant that I have propagated in vermiculite about a month ago now, they have gotten so big, pushed out so much growth. And back here is the kale, also pushing out new growth. And the biggest growth that I've seen underneath the Spider Farmer SF600 grow light is my tomato plants. So in comparison to what they were when I first put them underneath the grow light, there's such a big difference in their growth. And as you can see with this one, it's starting to flower, and this is already ready to be planted outside. And I also have another basil plant down here that also has gotten tall and needs to be pruned. And over here is my Pilea peperomiotes that I've been also growing in vermiculite, pushing out tons of new growth as well. And the Syngonium albo, you can see with this one, it has grown much bigger leaves now. And the Tradescantia linen also pushing out new growth, and I believe this one has grown roots already. And with this one, I don't know if you can see, it has grown lots of roots already since I propagated this about 2 weeks ago. My Scindapsus pictus exotica also pushing out new growth. And here's also the Pilea peperomiotes that I propagated and has gotten so big, especially this one. And what you've all been waiting for is the updates on my plant imports from Indonesia. So as you can see, it's just a bunch of Wetsticks now. This is the supposedly Scindapsus lucens. This one is drying out. I also took out the other leaf because it also was drying out like this. So this one is essentially just roots. A root, but as you can see, it is growing some new roots. So that is a good sign, and hopefully it would push out new leaf too as well as it grows new roots. And this one right here and this one over here are Wetsticks from what's supposed to be the Silver Hero. I don't want to pull it out already because I don't want to disturb the root growth. As you can see, there's a growth point coming from that one. Nothing so much with this one, at least that I've seen. And this one is pushing out a new leaf, so that one is great. And there's this one that is just the node that I placed. I don't know what's going on with it. I feel like it's just rotting, but I placed it here anyway to see what's happening with it. That is a different plant. That is the Philodendron Rio that I'm still trying to propagate. And over here, this one, that is a Epipremnum pinnatum variegata node that I also just recently placed, so there's nothing going on with that one yet. But yeah, so that's the update on the Wetsticks. So far, this method has been working quite well for them. And last but not the least, or I guess it is the least, because this is the Scindapsus pictus exotica pretending to be a silver lady, and I just have it in water. But as you can see, it also is trying to push out new growth and has some new roots already growing. So we'll see what happens with that one too. So those are the updates, and we'll see what happens with them, if they survive, if they actually become real plants. As far as the Scindapsus pictus exotica, I don't really know if I should still keep it or not because I have so many Scindapsus pictus exotica already, but I'm just gonna let it root and I guess combine it with my other Scindapsus pictus exoticas. As far as the Scindapsus lucens, you can see it was already losing the other leaf, and honestly, I'm also doubting if what I got was a Scindapsus lucens or if it was just a juvenile Scindapsus jade satin, which a plant I also already have. So I'm really disappointed, and I'm just grateful that I did get a refund, because if not, I'll be really mad right now. And the Wetsticks, as you can see, one of them is growing a new leaf, so I'll find out if it's actually a silver hero or not, and I'll give you updates in future videos and see what happens with that one. So that's my experience importing plants for the second time, and I should have really listened to my old self and really stuck with my New Year's resolution that I shouldn't be importing plants anymore, not only because of the risk involved, the cost involved, Thirdly, we don't really know the environmental impact of importing plants. Like I said earlier in the video, one of my fears is me importing plants that has bugs, diseases, insects that are invasive or will just trigger another pandemic. I know it sounds a little crazy, but we just got through a pandemic, so it's not really out there to be thinking like that. And yes, there's phytosanitary certification at the country of origin and a double check at the border by customs. But I think another thing that we don't really think about when it comes to importing plants is the environmental impact of displacing plants from their origin. And I'm not trying to make any insinuations or implications that we should ban importing plants or stop importing plants. It's really up to you what you want to do. I'm just saying, for me personally, I learned my lesson twice now that why I shouldn't be importing plants, and also maybe try to start considering the environmental impact of importing plants and displacing them from their place of origin. And again, this is just me thinking about it and throwing it out there. I'm not making any claims on what's the actual impact of importing plants. But yeah, that is my experience importing plants for the second time. And I also hope you enjoyed seeing the updates of my plants growing underneath the Spider Farmer SF600 grow light. If you would like to purchase your own, the link to buy is down in the description. And I'm also happy to announce the winner of the Spider Farmer giveaway. One lucky winner will be receiving the Spider Farmer SF600 grow light directly from Spider Farmer, as well as a signed copy of the paperback version of my book, The Ultimate Guide to Pothos Plants, from me. So yeah, so the winner is ta-da! Congratulations to the winner, and I'll be in touch with you as soon as this video is uploaded. And thank you so much again to Spider Farmer for sponsoring this video, as well as for providing the prize for the giveaway. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new here, I hope you subscribe. I come up with houseplants and sustainable lifestyle videos every week. And if you haven't yet, go check out these videos up here until my next one. But until then, I see you. I appreciate you. Take care of yourself and each other, and have a plentiful day. Bye!